Welcome back to another episode of the PokeStop Podcast. I'm your host, as always, with my co-host, who might I say is looking fresh as ever, Thad Wayand. Thad, how are you?
Oh, Zach, I am doing just great. Stop gassing me up like that. I'm gonna make me
We will
blush.
never stop gassing you up. All right, this is a Shell gas station. All right, because I am a shell of my former self. Because Raging
Oh
Thunder
my
won
gosh.
NAIC, but we're gonna get there, Thad. You know, it was pretty crazy weekend. We had NAIC. Some really cool decks came out of that. Some really cool storylines. And then we have had a little bit of drama the past couple days that I think is actually raising a really good point with the Worlds format that, like, I think both of us in the early episodes of this podcast both said are really stupid. And we're just seeing those chickens come home to roost. But first things first, I want to talk about NAIC. We had a lot of really wild stuff with NAIC. First thing I want to mention is the juniors division had a brother and sister in the finals. So that's really cool. That's got to be just absolutely amazing for that family, just to be like, no matter what, we have the first and second NAIC champions in juniors. And like, I don't know what their point levels were, but like, just to see them both get the Worlds invite, that's got to be really cool, especially for like kids that young.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw like the wholesome moment that they had like on the stream where the brother was just super happy for his sister when
Phenomenal.
she won. Yeah, it was really cute. They're like, "Oh, aren't you beat up about not winning?" He's like, "No, I don't care." He's like, "I just love seeing my sister win." I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna cry."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just such a cool moment, you know. And you love it when like the you know, like you're happy to lose NAIC just because it's like to this probably like your testing partner, right? Like you have to imagine like brother and sister,
Oh
they're
yeah.
testing almost every day, you know, just from the ease of access point. So that's super cool to see. And then in the seniors division, we had honestly probably one of the best seasons we will ever see in the history of the game. Gabriel Fernandez going clean sweeping. He has won this year. He won LAIC, he won EUIC, and he's now won NAIC. And I didn't actually know this until after. He beat the number 1, 2, and 3 ranked North American seniors in the finals of each IC. So like quite literally went through the gauntlet to take this down. He won with, I believe it was a Charizard deck. You are a big hater of Charizard. Personally, I know you hate it. You're like, Charizard, worst deck ever. But he beat Dragapult, which is like kind of wild because I feel like that is not a good matchup for that deck.
Yeah, it's actually kind of wild.
That is it's kind of insane that like any 2-1'd him, and it like honestly the game he lost, I don't think he looked that bad. Like I think he was just like one turn, one card kind of thing. So that is honestly that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, good on him for going as far as he has. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, it what an insane run, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just looking, I just pulled up the Limitless Labs really quick just to kind of get an idea of like just how bad of a matchup this was. It was Slowpoke, correct? That he beat.
Yes.
Or no, it was there were Pulse, I believe, or Dusknors.
I thought it was like Slowpoke, but it was like a 1/1 Dusclops line.
Either way, it's kind of insane. If so, just like combining the two of them, it's about a 40-60 matchup, which is kind of crazy.
That is actually really insane.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, just an absolutely
Kudos.
insane run out of him. I'm sure he is looking to capitalize that with a Worlds Championship. I mean, but he has attained the maximum number of points possible in a Pokemon season. So like quite literally, his season could not go better. Which is
honestly, I'm just really curious. I'm curious to see how well all the success in seniors translates to masters. We've seen something like this. I think we've seen someone very similar to this in someone like Isaiah Bradner, who like it took a couple seasons for Bradner to sort of get a big win under his belt, going from seniors to masters. I mean, Bradner like absolutely dominated seniors when he was there. like 3-4-ish years ago. So I'm interested to see how this transition happens for him too.
Yeah, because it was also really weird, right? Because like he went into seniors kind of in the COVID season, so like there weren't a ton of events, but like I just pulled up his limitless really quick. So he finished in seniors at the end of the 2019 season. He did win NAIC with the Zoroark Dugong back in the, I think that was like late Sun and Moon, early. I think it was like right before Sword and Shield came out.
I think base Sword and Shield was out at that point, right? No,
I think it was like right
if it was
before
20. Yeah, if it was early, or
it would have been
what
tournament? June of 19.
Yeah, no, it was not yet. Sword and Shield didn't come out until that fall.
I think we were just like a couple sets off from that. I think it was like right before ADP as well. But then he transitioned into Masters. Got a couple top 8s in Atlantic City and then Knoxville. A couple top 32s leading into that was Richmond, Dallas, and then the Collinsville regional, which was the last regional kind of before the COVID shutdown, which I think is kind of like why it looks a lot worse than I think it really is, if that makes sense. Because he did win the first of the Pokemon online global COVID things.
The team
he
challenge
won that with Pikarom, which is pretty cool. I
sure.
remember that deck.
Back in your day.
Farms remembers back in my day. And then he didn't. Then a couple good. It's kind of insane to say they're not great seasons because like both seasons he had multiple top 8s and multiple runner-ups. You know what I mean? It's honestly insane to say like he had kind of a mid-season. Like he only made the finals of like one IC. Like you could do better than that, Isaiah, right? Like and like I think that's just the level of play you expect from these like high-level players. Then, this year finally getting back to the winner circle. He won Stockholm and then NAIC this year, both with Guardy, but with two very different variations of Guardy. Stockholm, that was the last tournament pre-rotation with the refinement Curlia, and then obviously this past weekend with kind of an insane Guardy list. A lot of weird stuff going on. The Turbo Energize, only one Bravery Charm, 4 Monkey Dory, 4 Dark Energy. So definitely, and this was the list that like him, Rahul, Henry Chow, Lucas Singh, and Michael Davidson, that group, kind of cooked together. Which honestly, I think anytime you get a Guardy list with the Henry Chow, Isaiah Bradner seal of approval, like that list is just going to be crazy.
Yeah, you're probably chilling.
And it definitely was. I mean, only one Super Rod, only one Counter Catcher, the Energy Switch. Just a lot of really weird stuff in this list that I feel like has such a high skill ceiling. But like if you can get there, it's just absurd. And we saw that. It also didn't play Drifloon. Which was...
It did not play Drifloon.
I was incredibly surprised by that, to be honest with you. But shout out to him, honestly. And this tournament was huge. 3,812 people. We have never seen a tournament that large. Even just looking at all the ICs in the modern era. EUIC had 3,300 this year. But then the next closest to that was NAIC last year, where we only had 2,600 masters. So like obviously the growth of the game is just getting absurd. Like we're getting to levels that are, just insanity.
We're just short of Japan at this point.
Yeah, I think Japan is in like the 5,000s, but yeah, I think honestly, this could have broken 5K if they had the ability to get it there. Because I know there were people who wanted to go and just couldn't get access. Just couldn't get in.
Oh yeah,
which is honestly crazy.
If they open up the floodgates on something like this, I mean, we're talking like a 5,000 person tournament easy.
Yeah, I for sure could see that, 100%. But that's really cool. Cool for the game to see that kind of growth. We also had out of NAIC kind of a crazy deck showing up again. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Ray Chen. She actually has gotten her invite off of 2 tournaments. She got top 8 at NAIC, and then she also got top 16 at Portland Regionals, both with the Toad Scroll EX, which, man, I don't think anyone saw that coming. Honestly.
That
Toad
is
Scroll, Teal Mask Ogrepon, kind of insane. And I actually did the math yesterday. She had, prior to Portland, she had under 300 points.
That's actually kind of nuts.
And is now in, I think she's at like 720. So literally you got your invite in 2 weeks. In a month, you got like 600 points. Which is just kind of insane. And honestly, I think it just, I think just a thought on the format in general, it's way too weighed towards IC points. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in love with ICs being like the end all be all of basically every single format at this point. It just seems like, or like your IC attendance is pretty much going to dictate how your season goes, which I don't love. Because ICs are the most expensive tournaments to get to. They're the most expensive tournaments to play in. While they also have the largest attendance, so your likelihood of winning something like that or even getting into cash at that point is super low.
Insanely tough. Yeah, like, I mean, Henry Chow was in a win-in and lost his win-in with 30 match points. And I think he bubbled out of top 32. No, he was 31st. So almost bubbled out of top 32.
Which just shouldn't happen.
Absolutely absurd. That you can go from either in top 8 or top 64. Like, that's an insane drop. And not only money, just like in points and pricing and all these different things. Yeah, so like,
yeah, I mean, at that point,
they should be. I kind of wish we would weigh points differently depending on how many people are there. Whereas like now the kicker just gives more points to lower placements. But like, I would like to see more points to higher placements. Like, instead of like, if you get top 64 at a 1,500 person regional, you get 100 points. But if you get top 64 at a 2,000 person regional, you get like 120 points. Like, I would like to see them weighed differently that way as well.
Yeah, I like that implementation a lot better, just for a myriad of reasons, but mostly just the fact that,
you know, because
like, it feels like the points there scale better based off of attendance, based off of, you know, difficulty the tournament's going to have, right?
Yeah. Because then it incentivizes people to go to bigger events versus like, okay, I can go to this regional in the US that's going to have roughly 2,000 people, or I can go to this like SPE the weekend before or the weekend after in like Latin America that's going to have like maybe 600, you know, because I'm getting the same amount of points either way. So like, if I'm not that concerned with the money aspect of a regional versus an SPE, and I'm just trying to go for the invite, and that's my only concern, that's my only goal. Like, yeah, it makes sense to go to the SPE that's going to have a third as many people, you know, versus the big regional.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, why would you even consider anything else, you know?
Yeah, and I've been a big advocate for like region lock SPs. So like, if you're a player from North America, sorry, you can't go to the Puerto Rico SPE, because like, that's not the point of an SPE, right? SPEs aren't designed for you. In my opinion, SPEs shouldn't be designed for players to spike from other regions, but more for an event for players in that region who can't travel, so they at least get to go to an event and experience Pokemon at this high level.
Yeah,
I don't think that will ever happen, because Pokemon wants more people at as many events as possible. So I think that would be a good compromise that would incentivize both things.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you're
but
wrong.
hopefully we see some changes though. Just because, and actually we're gonna get to that a little bit later when we talk about kind of the world's situation. I kind of wanted to just like talk about, like, we've been seeing a lot on Twitter this week. A lot of people doing their season recaps, and I think those are really cool. I think it's a really good time to like shout out like your testing group, and just like people you've played with locally. And like, just for me personally, like, this was my first season, my first like full season of playing in like over 5 years. I stopped playing in like right before COVID started, just because like ADP sucked. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I was like, everyone like, oh, you quit because of COVID, and I was like, no, there was this payroll three-headed monster called ADP, and it was terrible. It sucked. But I came back, like EUIC of 2023 or 2024. Sorry. And kind of dipped my toe back in, and then decided, let's go for it. Let's do this. Let's do this season. I got a top 128, top 256, top 512 at regionals. Honestly, like, I mean, like, we've talked about this. I just hit the most insanely terrible variance at way too many regionals for me to like have any kind of success. Like, I think at the 3 regionals I like scrubbed out at Toronto, San Antonio, and Atlanta. I think of the 11 matches I played, I think 2 of them were against decks that were in the top 80% of decks. Like, I just hit the weirdest stuff. Like, I was hitting like Cornerstone Ogre Pawn in San Antonio, and I'm like, who is playing this right now? There's like 4 people, and I hit 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you definitely had some unfortunate circumstances early on, which kind of sucked, but
yeah, it is what it is. Like, I'm not trying to like mope about it and be like, it's not fair, I deserve my invite. Like, I don't really care for that. I don't really care. It doesn't really bother me at all, honestly. I'm happy with my season. I also won like 8 league cups. I was kind of a league cup demon. I was the Grinch who stole cup points, for sure.
Yeah, you definitely grinched a good amount of points from league cups.
It was kind of funny, actually. I actually had a tracker on my Twitter profile. I have sent 754 points into the loss zone just on locals by just grinching cups and challenges, and just being an absolute monstrosity.
Fucking
to the
demon.
Ohio Pokemon community, which was honestly hilarious. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, you really demoned your way into a lot of top cuts for sure.
It was hilarious. It got to the point to where people were like, I would show up and they would change their deck. I had people tell me that. They're like, I changed the deck I'm playing because you're here. And I was like, that is actually hilarious. Like, I love that. I honestly love that.
If you can't beat Raging Bolt, you shouldn't be playing that deck anyway. So like,
honestly, yeah.
Maybe you're doing them a favor by teaching them how to metagame properly.
It was kind of funny. It was really fun. And I've never metagamed for a locals. I'm just like, I'm playing this deck. This is what I'm playing.
I think you only own 60 cards, so.
I do. It sucks when I had to buy Noctowls. I had to sell my Pokestops. That value did not equal out correctly, so I had to actually spend money on Pokemon cards. It was kind of crazy. Kind of fucked up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's uncool.
But yeah, I think the season overall for me was pretty okay. I don't know if you have much of a season recap, just because you weren't able to travel that much for events.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is probably the one of the most competitive seasons I've had. The only thing that sucked was post rotation, in all honesty, just because I lost my beloved Lugia.
Yeah.
And that was like always my comfort pick, my go-to pick. Honestly, I probably should have just played it to San Antonio. Mm-hmm. I probably would have had at least more fun. Because at least
what did you play to San Antonio? Was that Bolt?
No, I played Moon.
Oh yeah, and you just hit like the Guardy wall.
Dude, I
And
just
by
hit
Guardy
nothing
Wall,
but
I mean the Guardy not play the game quick enough to actually finish more than 1.2 games of Pokemon in 50 minutes.
yeah, dude, I hit just like all the new players who were coming back from to the game from a long time away,
Yeah.
and like every round went to time. And I'm out here playing the fastest deck that has probably ever existed.
Yeah, I mean just the deck that blows itself up.
Yeah,
Like
like
it might as well call it Electrode at this point. Yeah.
yeah. So like I never really got my legs under me at San Antonio, but like I said, it is what it is. Tournament came and went.
Yeah.
Um, outside of San Antonio, like I played a good amount of locals. I didn't get to go to as many cups that I really would have wanted to this season, which I think
Yeah.
next year I really want to make more of a priority to go to more cups.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't think I'm going to be really interested in playing many challenge or like many like regionals or
Regionals.
anything like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah, it just I think for me it just depends like where they're at. Like I hate flying to events because I feel like it just puts you on a clock the moment you walk off the plane.
yeah, I'm not in love with flying. I get why people want to fly and like why people enjoy
Yeah.
flying to these events.
I just don't
But
I
like,
don't like we did it for San Antonio and I just didn't like that. Like just and it's like also like when you drive somewhere, like if the whole car does really bad, you can leave like, if it depending how far it is. Like for Toronto, we left before day 1 finished. And we were like, let's just go sleep in our own beds. And that was better. And like it would have been great for San Antonio if like because none of us made day 2, but we had to like wait until like 3 p.m. to leave just because of like flights. And it was
and
like
flight
cool.
times and shit like that.
Yeah. So like you're just like, and then you're just like sitting here like stewing in like your own like defeat.
And you're
Versus
like,
like,
damn.
yeah, sitting in an airplane being like, cool, I spent all this money to get shit on. That was great. That was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's I don't know. I think it's been fine for the most part. So
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
know. Hard to say.
Yeah.
Hard to say how I feel about the season quite yet. Maybe maybe next year.
I think honestly, this format just gate kept a lot of people out of the game. From the top 125 thing, which I think sucks. I think it was I thought it was a terrible idea when they announced it. I thought it was a terrible day the day after they announced it. I thought it was a terrible idea the day before they announced it. And shocker, I still think it was a terrible idea. I think it just gate kept way too many people. Whereas like when I have like a hard number, and like I kind of agree that last year's Worlds was a little too big. I think like 1,000 to 1,200 people is kind of where they should like try to be. I think that's fine, right? Like I think that allows enough people to be in there. And like even at that number, I'm not getting in, right? 440 is not getting me there. I think in North America alone I was like almost in the 400s. So like this isn't like a me trying to get myself an invite conversation. This is a me like there were so many people who deserved invites who are not going to get invites because of how restrictive the world's invite format was this year.
Yeah, the world's format just doesn't seem like, or like I guess what I'm trying to say is like the world's, what is it? Like
The invite structure?
the invite structure, yes. I just don't think it's very, if we are getting one of the biggest, best venues in North America for the world's competition, I want to see competition. I don't want to see the same. I love underdogs in the
Yeah.
Pokemon TCG.
Yeah, like
You
great
know what I
stories
mean?
come from these. I mean, remember last year Jesse Parker, like local player, like making a run through
Yeah.
worlds and like
Yes.
that was a huge thing. Like this guy who like
Yes.
has had success like 100%, like but no one I get like I don't know anyone who was like, yeah, I think Jesse Parker's going to make a huge run here and with like Miraidon and just like come out of nowhere and just kind of like, a guy who has prior to that had a couple top 8s, but nothing crazy, right? No wins, no crazy runs, but
Yeah,
just to come out and go to top 4 of Worlds and like be this guy everyone is rooting for. Like I remember watching like the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat for those events just going insane.
yeah. I mean, like when you look back at his like that world season for him, he got off to a really good start at the beginning of the season. I think he top 8'd Pittsburgh and Peoria, and then like
He got second in Peoria, top 8, or top finalist in Pittsburgh, top 8 in Peoria, and then a couple top 32s. And then he
but then like that
top
was his whole
264 in
season.
NAIC. Yeah, like just
You know,
a very mid season for like, a good season for anyone. You know what I mean? But like for a guy,
yeah,
for like someone you would say got top 4 at Worlds, I think there's
yeah,
so many more like people you would put before that.
yeah. And like how many like stories do we get like that are impactful, that are cool, right? Like I understand people wanting to see like quote unquote like high tier competition, right? Like some people want to see nothing but the best
Sure.
on stream. And I think that that's not entirely, you don't always see the best because the people who put in the time and the effort sometimes don't also have the means to go to these tournaments.
To 13 events a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
they
how
don't
are
have
we going to
$10,000 for planes? Like
Yeah.
honestly.
So like how are we going to find someone like a Jesse Parker, if we don't allow more people to be a part of the conversation?
Yeah,
Right, the game
100%.
is huge.
100%.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing: we'll never have like a Jason Klaczynski ever again. That's just never gonna happen. The closest we're gonna get is Tord. Right, we'll never get this World's Championship demon who can come in, barely play in a year, show up at Worlds, qualify, and then win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's
100%.
never gonna happen again. So like, let's just like we need to build up more people underneath like the who you would consider like I would say when you look at like the best players, look at the stipends, right? Like look at the top 16 in NA who got stipends.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see I want to see a player like Austin Charles do well. Right? Someone who doesn't have like all the time and all the money in the world to show up at every single regional and every single IC, right? I want someone who's really good at the game. Austin is extremely good at the game. He's good at reading a meta. He's good at understanding deck structure. He's good at building decks, right? He then shows up at Worlds as like someone who could barely make it in and then go ahead and like proceed to make like a top 4 run like Jesse Parker did, right? Like I want a storyline like that. Right? Like I know Henry Chow is a really good player.
Shocker.
Yeah. I mean, like, I know that. I don't need to see him in Worlds top 4. Will he probably be there? Probably. Right? Will he make a good run at Worlds? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But Worlds should be, like, in my opinion, it shouldn't just be the best of the best. It should be all of the best.
Sure. Yeah, and like my issue too is like, so on straight points, there are 380 invites between all the regions. And then let's say we throw in 30, just for a nice round number, on the auto invites. So I know there's 14 from North America, so let's double it for EU. It's 28. Maybe there's 10. So like maybe 30 to 35. So at most, you're getting 420 people at Worlds. This game is so much bigger than 425, like 400 plus people. Like,
yeah.
And that's just such a small event. Like, that's essentially just like an IC day 2, which like I don't love. And I think is just too restrictive. I understand that it probably needed to go down. And like, yeah, we shouldn't have 4,000 person world and like world championships, but like, why don't we have 1,500? Like, that is a very accommodatable, level of competition.
Worlds 2024 had almost 1,200 people. and I think we got one of the best top 8s that we
Yeah.
probably could have asked for. On top of having one of the best top 8s, we probably have one of the best top 16s, right? The good player, the really, really good players will find their way to the top in a 1,200 person tournament,
Yeah.
right? That's just always going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like people
And
who
1,200
work
seems like
hard.
a great number. Yeah. And like it still takes a whole year of grinding, right? Like if we had
Yeah.
made it, like I think if honestly, I would have just kept the points the same. Maybe go up a little bit. What was it last year? Was it 550 or 600?
I thought it was 650.
Was it 650?
But it was either 600 or 650. Who's one of the two?
I think it was 600.
It was probably
So I
600.
think the conversation was take it up to 650 or something like that, you know. And it's
I think so. I think that's
it's crazy. Like it's crazy that it was this restrictive. And the other issue this creates is now that we have like our top 125. And I'm glad you mentioned Austin Charles, who is a local player, really good dude, honestly. Like I met him at a locals like shortly after Baltimore, like when I was surprisingly playing Raging Bolt. Who could have seen that one coming? I know it's crazy. I play Raging Bolt all the time. Who knew? But like a guy who like is constantly thinking about the game and constantly talking about like I like this deck for this matchup, and you know, like just constantly is thinking about the game and playing the game at a very high level. To bubbling out of, he is currently the way it looks like it's going to break down. Is he's going to be number 126, which is insane, and like there's only an extra 6 people, 7. There are 7 people out of, so there's 8 people in North America with 700 points exactly. Whereas why don't we just put an extra table out for 7 people? You know what I mean? Like that's an extra table.
yeah.
Like that's an extra 8-foot card table you have to set up and 8 chairs.
Sure.
We could probably find the money. You know what I mean? I'm just going to pretend.
Yeah. But like extend that to like all regions, and sure, you might end up with 3 more tables.
Yeah.
Ooh. Like
you know,
what are
how
we
much more are we expanding this to making it not fair? You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy. And like honestly, like I'm just looking at people who were less than 100 points from making it, right? Like people Liam Halliburton, Charlie
That's
Lockwood,
actually kind of
Cyrus McCain, Blake Ray, Orlando Karam, Ross Cawthorn.
Wait, Ross did not.
Fucking Cawthorn had 700. I lost his name on this giant list of people. 750. Ross Cawthorn was 1 cup win away from the bubble.
Yeah, damn.
Let that sink in for a second. Josh Frink, 747. Another local player who is super good, and I want to shout him out. Sanjay. I'm going to butcher the last name, so I'm not even going to try. But a dude who is also like constantly thinking about the game. Only 740. Like also very close to being in that bubble conversation. So like, why do we have that at all? Like, why can't we just make it a dead set point limit? Like it's been every other year for every other world championship that we've ever done and have never had an issue with. Like, well, I don't understand.
It wasn't always point based.
I don't care. Let me cook.
Okay, sorry.
Vance Kelly at 714.
I just want someone in the comments to be like, well, actually, in 2014, it was an ELO based system.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. If you're in the comments and you type this out, I will ban you. I'm not, don't even, I don't even care that we have like 20 subscribers. I do not care. I will let this podcast die before I listen to your glasses getting pushed so far through your brain you can touch the skull. Like it's crazy. Like just Vance Kelly, 714. I mean, just like some Sawyer Melbourne, 720. You know, just like some really big names to the community who like were very close to not making it, right? Who were 1 finish away from not being in this conversation. Like you imagine like Ross Cawthorn missed Worlds because he didn't go to enough locals.
That's crazy. I'm actually kind of shocked that
people would actually riot. I think there'd be way more like community, and there's been a lot of people in the community who have spoken out about this, which is great. which is 100% something we should be doing. Like,
oh yeah, submit support tickets. If you're like, if I'm on the bubble right now, if I'm at like 700 and I'm like not getting my invite to Worlds,
yeah,
I am submitting a support ticket right now.
yeah, for sure. You know,
I'm
because I
submitting a
think
support
like,
ticket every day.
yeah, I think too often we look at the top heavy players. You know, the Rahul Reddys with 1,500, the Piper Lapines with 1,300, Grant Shen with 1,300, Makani Tran with almost 1,300. You know, these people who like have had insane success consistently all season. And we don't look at like
Right.
the really good players who are actually pretty close to that bubble. You know, and just like the amount of people who don't get the shot to show their skills because they have to choose a very like they have to be very restrictive with the events they can attend because they have a job or they have kids or they have all these different things.
Yeah, I'm going to use Makani as an example here. Just obviously like no beef with Makani at all. But like when I look at his Limitless page, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events that they went to this season. 2 of them being ICs.
Yeah.
Like, of course he has so many points. Of course he's in like the thousands of points, right? You got to go to 8 events, 2 of them being ICs, right? Yeah. Like,
and like 100%.
So like,
I don't think either of us will disagree with this. That like Makani Tran is a very skilled player, and this is not
still good
their ability at all, but more the resource availability and like the pay to win structure of this invite structure. That like if you can afford to travel to 3 ICs, you've got a really good shot at getting a lot of points. Like,
yeah,
I mean, just top 64. I think if you top 64 the 3 ICs, that will get you an invite.
Yeah, but I mean, what's even crazier is like, I know for a fact Sanjay needed to do well at NAIC in order to get his invite.
Absolutely. Yeah, he did. 100%. Yeah, I think he got top 128. And I believe that gave him enough. I think if he hadn't done well or just like hadn't gotten points. And well, he actually day 2'd every event he went to this year as well. All but I think one
Toronto.
He could have ID'd but chose to play it out for points. And he lost the last round. But like that level of consistency and success at the regional level to make it by 20 points.
Crazy.
You know, and that I think the format is way like this game is way too big to make it 500 people when there's like 88,000 people playing. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I just don't think you have like the proper representation. There are tens of thousands of Pokemon players across the world, across every different region. We need to be a little bit more open with the idea that like there are just really good players who just don't have the time investment or maybe the money investment into this
100%
to be able to make it, you know, to make Worlds and what I would feel is more fair.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, like just globally, really quick. There were I'm gonna put this at least 50 points, right? At least to that point, you're playing the game on a consistent basis. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, you can't even see the Asian ones.
Yeah, for sure. That doesn't even account for that many
the Asian market.
Like that many people who are playing that much Pokemon, and it's just like, why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Like, why are we not just, you know? And if let's just say we made it 1,200, right? Let's just say we did the top 1,200 people get invites. You don't take out, you know, we'll take out 50 people for auto invites, just for an even number. So 1,250 people, 1,250th on the leaderboard is 381.
That's actually kind of insane.
That's globally. That is, so let's say we take out 200 for the Asian market, right? So that puts us at 1,050. It doesn't change that much. That would put us at 420.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm actually really glad that number is what we landed on for no particular reason whatsoever. Like, is 1,200 people too much for a Worlds? I personally don't think it is.
No.
Because, like, this game is designed, like Pokemon wants to stand on the inclusivity aspect of Pokemon. You then can't have an incredibly restrictive event. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you want to run, like, an invite-only cash event, cool. Live your best life. But if we're going to say Pokemon's the inclusive game, but then say, unless you have the money to go to 8 regionals, you're not going to get an invite. I see a broken bridge here, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any. Sorry for the long pause. I just don't have anything, crazy to say other than like if we're gonna be inclusive, we do need to.
Yeah.
If
And
we're
I
gonna
remember,
advertise this as like a player friendly game, as like a easy to play game,
yeah,
like let more people play.
100%. I absolutely agree with that. And I think that when this conversation first started 9-10 months ago, the main argument for this structure, or for a more restrictive structure, is people looking at like Magic and other card games. And then my immediate counter to that has always been, this is supposed to be the inclusive game. This is supposed to be the game. And I think the community reflects that. For the 98% of people in this community are like very friendly, very inclusive, very like, if you've got specific pronouns you want, 99% of people, outside of maybe 4 people on Twitter, will say that to you, right? Like, they will respect that, and they'll, like, if you misgendered them accidentally and they're like, hey, like, actually, like, they'll apologize, and it'll be a totally normal interaction, and it doesn't have to be weird, and it doesn't have to, escalate into Twitter drama.
Unless it does.
Oh my God. You know what I mean, though? Like, outside of, like, literally 5 people. Like, and everyone knows who they are, and everyone knows they're terrible people, and, they have nothing going on, so they have to make everyone else feel bad about the fact that they have nothing going on. And who cares, right? Like, don't buy their crappy sleeves, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just can't make the top cut, like at a cup, and you just gotta go home.
Or even you can even not top cut league challenges now.
That's true. It is hard to make top cut at a lot of these tournaments, especially if like the cards just aren't drawing your way and you whiff top cut, it's unfortunate. But hopefully next year we get a better format for top cuts as well. I actually kind of liked the asymmetrical cuts this year at regionals. I actually really like that.
I do like ASIM. ASIM makes a lot of sense. I'll never
good a genuinely good thing.
Yeah, it's not like I'm ever gonna be in that situation, but if I was in that situation, I would prefer there to be an ASIM cut. You know what I mean?
I think we want more Pokemon, not less, right? Like,
yeah, all in the name of more Pokemon.
Yeah, and I think that's ultimately what people want, right? We just want the game to grow. We want the game to do better. We don't want the game to be worse. And I think like everyone in the community just wants the game to be a positive thing. And like, it's just so cool when like you go to regionals and you talk to people and like you have like, I think like everyone has like the same 3 questions. How's it going? Where are you from? How far did you drive?
What do you do?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like everyone has like those same like 3 questions. And like just like to, like me being like some dude from Ohio in like Cleveland, Ohio, talking to like some guy from like, I don't know, Wakamami, Mississippi or something. You know what I mean? And just like knowing that like we have like probably only have this one thing in common, And just like to be able to share that with people you don't know and just total strangers and be in this room of people who just have this like just very big passion and love of Pokemon. It's just so cool. And like it's so refreshing from like, the drama farming of Twitter. just to talk to people in a normal way and have normal human interactions is just so cool.
I don't want normal human interactions. I don't know what you're
Well,
talking
then
about.
don't go to regionals. Then stay on Twitter and complain about, I don't know, someone was mean to you in a Limitless tournament and it hurt
No.
your fifis, and now you want them barred from ever doing anything cool ever again.
I want them removed from the game permanently.
I want them permabanned because they hurt my fifis. Heard.
You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. Yeah, 100%. No, but I think that wraps up this conversation with a pretty good bow, I would say.
Yeah.
But if you disagree with us, or if you agree with us, let us know in the comments. But that is the end of the episode. We appreciate everyone for watching. This has been the PokeStop Podcast, episode number 19. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment letting us know what you think of today's episode. Do you think we're right? You think we have a good take on the Worlds format, or are we coping because we're both bad at Pokemon? Either way, we will see y'all next week for another episode of the PokeStop Podcast. See you later.
Later. W Pod.